One of the most overlooked and groundbreaking entry-level DSLRs is the Canon T2i. The T2i was introduced in the US in early March 2010, and the T2i is called the 550D in other parts of the world. The T2i is a consumer camera. That means it's cheaper and less ruggedly made than the prosumer or pro models, such as a Canon 7D or 5D series. If you're used to a prosumer or a pro DSLR, it's going to feel really cheap in your hands, but it's not. It's a great camera. I've had one for a long time. It's just less expensively made, and the control layouts are quite a bit different, and we'll get into that. Regarding basic features, the T2i supports an 18 megapixel APS-C sensor, ISO ranging from 100 to 6400, and it's extendable to 12,800, shutter speeds ranging from 1/4000th of a second to 30 seconds, and bulb is available in manual mode. The T2i captures images in RAW plus large JPEG, and several JPEG modes in varying resolutions, and it shoots 3.6 frames per second in continuous mode. The T2i supports movie mode, the highest resolution being 1920 by 1080p at 30, 25, or 24 frames per second. The file format for movies is .mov. It supports an HDMI output also. The T2i has a microphone jack, which is vastly important when shooting video, but unfortunately does not contain a headphone jack. The T2i supports the white balance settings you see on prosumer and pro models, such as auto, daylight, shade, cloudy, tungsten, so on and so forth, but it does not support direct Kelvin settings. The metering supports 63 zone evaluative, center weighted, 9% partial metering, and 4% spot metering. It supports the professional shooting modes, which are manual, aperture priority, and shutter priority. And as in most consumer DSLRs, it supports the gimmick modes such as creative auto, portrait, landscape, close-up, sports, night portrait, and auto depth of field. These modes you'll completely ignore. Just don't use them because they're useless. The T2i has a built-in flash and supports eTTL2 flash mode, which is really good. It also features flash exposure compensation, and it also supports wired and wireless remote control. The T2i has been often nicknamed the Baby 7D. So what does the T2i cost? I've seen them range from $90 US for the body only to around $230 with the 18 to 55 millimeter kit lens. And all the ones I've seen for sale contain batteries and a charger. The T2i uses both EF and EFS lenses, so you've got a ton of lenses that you can choose from for this camera. Putting a reasonably expensive quality lens on the 18 megapixel APS-C sensor in this camera, and you really have a winner. A really good inexpensive lens to use with this camera is the Canon Nifty 50 f1.8 lens. It runs for $125 US, and that combined with a T2i, you've really got a winner. Instead of the physically larger CF or compact flash cards used in prosumer and pro model cameras, the T2i uses SD cards. The batteries used in the T2i are very different than those used in a prosumer or pro camera. It's an LPE6 proprietary design, and you can see it on the right. You can see it's vastly different than the other batteries. The rear LCD is nice and bright, and you can see here this is the quick mode with all the camera setting data up. To navigate around the settings, you use the 4 buttons which are on the right in a circle. This kind of emulates the rotating dial you see in the prosumer and pro cameras, and it's a little frustrating to get used to, but you get used to it pretty quick the more you use the camera. Just remember, this is a consumer camera. It's more cheaply made, but its internal functionality rivals that of any pro or prosumer camera. All the settings are pretty much similar to a 7D. I think that's why they call it the Baby 7D. It has all pretty much the standard stuff, as you can see. We'll just glide through the rest of the back screen so you can take a look for yourself. Alright, let's get to the good stuff. This first set of photographs were shot with a Canon Nifty 50. I shot in manual mode, the ISO was 200, and the metering was evaluative. And the picture style was just standard. I really like using the Nifty 50 with this camera. The kit lenses that come with most DSLRs, especially consumer DSLRs, are considered to be of inferior quality, and they are a little bit, but the one that came with this camera was actually pretty good. It's an 18-55 zoom, and just remember, this isn't the best lens in the world, but it's not the worst. To show you how the kit lens performs, I drove out to the Affleck House, which is a few miles from where I live. The Affleck House was designed by Frank Lloyd Wright and built in 1940. It was donated to the Lawrence Tech School of Architecture, my old alma mater. The Affleck House is in Bloomfield Hills, Michigan, just right off of Woodward Avenue. This being Michigan, the weather changes like crazy, so it was overcast when I went to go shooting, but got bright and sunny when I got there. It was about 1 o'clock in the afternoon and bright contrast, which is a very difficult shooting situation. So you can see with this kit lens, it's not bad. You know, shooting with this didn't see really any lens flare or chromatic aberration. For a cheap lens, that's not bad. I shot in RAW mode at ISO 200 in aperture priority, and f-stop usually hung around 5.6 to 8. I've had my T2i for about 8 years and have really enjoyed using it. It's a great little camera. If you're just starting out, it's hard to go wrong with the T2i. It's very modern, 18 megapixels, which is a lot of features in the camera, so it's just hard to beat. The T2i supports tons and tons of features that are present in prosumer and pro models, and really the only downside is the interface a little bit, the button structure, and it is more cheaply constructed, so you have to be careful with it. A lot of filmmakers have used this camera starting out, and it produces spectacular results. So if you're in the market for an inexpensive consumer camera, hard to beat a Canon T2i. So as always, this is Jeff. Thanks for watching, and if you like this video, hit the subscribe button below. Thanks, and talk to you later.